Chapter 15, The Vet. It took them 25 minutes to get out onto the main road. Poor Hawkeye. Every bump and jolt seemed to make it worse for him. The front seat was now saturated with blood, and he had this funny look in his eye, like he was awake, but he didn't know what was going on. Nadine tried hard to push down the panic she felt. Once on the main road, however, it was only 10 minutes to the centre of town where the vet surgery was. Martin went in first, and within moments the vet and his nurse were hurrying out to the truck. They put Hawkeye on a trolley bed and wheeled him inside. Martin and Nadine followed and stood against the wall as they watched the vet assess the dog. Dog fight, was it? The vet asked, obviously. Where's the other dog? Martin spoke. It's dead. The nurse and vet looked at each other, then back to Hawkeye. Okay, the vet began. He's got bleeding from his chest. It looks deep. He may have a punctured lung. He's got a wound on his shoulder that will need stitches. Both front legs look pretty bad. We'll have to x-ray those as well as the lung. Get an IV set up, please, Kylie. He looked to Nadine. He's in a bad way, I'm afraid. See this shaking? Nadine nodded. That means he's lost a lot of blood and he's in shock. He put his stethoscope to Hawkeye's trembling chest. Pulse rapid. Is he in pain? Yes, I'm certain he is. Are you going to give him some painkillers? The vet shook his head. He's not stable, and if I gave him anything now, it will make it difficult for him to breathe. His heart is beating too fast, and anything I give will weaken both his heart and his lungs. At the moment, I know it sounds awful, but it's better if we leave him like this until he's a bit better. Tears filled Nadine's eyes again. Martin put his arm around her. Can you fix him? She sobbed. Yes, I'm sure he'll be okay, but we are going to have to wait until he's stable before we operate. How much is that going to cost? Martin asked. A lot, the vet answered simply. Martin turned to Nadine and whispered, We can't afford this. Nadine jutted out her chin and said loudly, I don't care how much it costs. Uncle Ted can pay for it. Do whatever you have to make him well. They watched in silence. Then, as the vet and nurse worked on the dog, the nurse shaved Hawkeye's back leg, then inserted a long needle into his vein. He struggled a bit, and instinctively Nadine stepped forward and stroked his head, while the nurse taped the IV securely. Because he's in shock, we have to get these fluids into him as quickly as possible, the nurse explained as she massaged the bag which hung on a steel hook. He'll feel better with this in him, she added, and then placed a blanket over him. When they had finished, they wheeled Hawkeye next door to the radiology room. Nadine and Martin went out to the waiting room. It seemed to take forever. Outside, the rain had settled in, and Nadine realized she was cold and began to shiver. She turned to Martin. Why did the police come? She asked. Why did they take Ted and not anyone else? Martin shrugged. I don't know. Nothing makes sense in this place. Ted's going to spew when he finds out we've taken Hawkeye to the vet. Stuff him, Nadine cried. If it hadn't been for him, Hawkeye wouldn't be in this mess. Just then, the vet came through. Well, it's as we thought. His left lung is punctured, and his two front legs have fractures, which is what we would expect from a dog fight. Now what? Martin asked. We have to operate, but we'll wait a while because he's not up to surgery in his present state. However, a couple of hours on the drip and he'll be better. We've managed to stop the bleeding, but without surgery, he didn't need to finish." Nadine knew what he meant. "Can we do anything?" she asked quietly. "No, he's resting, and as soon as he's stable, we'll operate. Then it's wait and see." "You mean he could still die?" Martin challenged. The vet shook his head. "There are never any guarantees, but I don't expect him to die. However, the next 24 hours are critical. Don't worry, we will take good care of him." Nadine and Martin looked at each other. Martin shrugged and turned away. Nadine spoke to the vet. "Do whatever you have to. We will be at the police station and then at home." Nadine wrote their number on a pad by the phone. "Will you ring us if there is any change?" The vet nodded and held the door open for them as they headed out into the cold and darkening afternoon. Nadine was exhausted and too tired to care about the mess in the cab. In the back of her mind she thought about what Ted would say about the blood, but then, perhaps at the moment, Ted had other things on his mind.